The world of high fashion has changed dramatically since the days when glossy magazines ruled every trend and every designer dreamed of appearing on the cover of a famous publication. Years have passed, technology has transformed the industry, and digital media now moves faster than print ever could. Despite these changes, one name still commands respect wherever fashion is discussed: Miranda Priestly. Her sharp judgment, unmatched experience, and intimidating presence continue to make her one of the most influential figures in the business. However, even someone as powerful as Miranda cannot ignore the reality that the industry is evolving. Luxury brands now invest more in social media campaigns than magazine advertisements. Young influencers attract millions of followers overnight, and traditional publishing faces challenges unlike anything seen before. Miranda realizes that maintaining her empire will require more than experience alone. She must adapt while protecting the reputation she spent decades building. At the same time, familiar faces from her past begin moving toward unexpected opportunities, setting the stage for reunions that will reshape everyone's future. Far away from the glamorous offices that once defined her life, Andy Sachs has built a successful career on her own terms. She no longer feels trapped by impossible deadlines or impossible expectations. Instead, she has become a respected journalist and editor, known for honest reporting and thoughtful storytelling rather than flashy headlines. Although she appreciates the peaceful life she has created, memories of Runway magazine occasionally return whenever she attends a fashion event or interviews a famous designer. She remembers the lessons she learned under intense pressure, the friendships she formed, and the confidence she gained after surviving one of the toughest workplaces imaginable. Andy believes she has completely moved on from that chapter of her life. Yet deep inside she knows that the fashion world has a strange way of pulling people back when they least expect it. As rumors begin spreading about major changes within the publishing industry, Andy starts hearing familiar names again, making her wonder whether the past is truly behind her or simply waiting for the perfect moment to return. Meanwhile, Emily Charlton has experienced a transformation that surprises nearly everyone who once underestimated her. The ambitious assistant who spent years chasing Miranda's approval has become an influential executive with powerful connections throughout the luxury fashion business. She now represents prestigious brands, negotiates multi-million-dollar partnerships, and understands exactly how modern marketing works in an era dominated by influencers and online audiences. Emily's confidence has grown tremendously, but so has her determination to prove herself independently. Although she rarely admits it, many of her strongest professional habits were shaped during her demanding years at Runway. She respects Miranda's brilliance while also recognizing that the old methods may no longer guarantee success. When Emily learns that one of her biggest clients could become essential to Runway magazine's future, she realizes that destiny may once again place her directly across the negotiating table from the woman who once controlled every aspect of her career. Inside the elegant headquarters of Runway magazine, tension quietly grows behind polished smiles and luxurious fashion displays. Financial reports reveal declining advertising revenue. Loyal readers continue shifting toward digital platforms, and executives begin questioning whether the magazine can maintain its legendary influence. Miranda refuses to show fear in front of her staff, yet every meeting reminds her that prestige alone cannot stop changing consumer habits. Investors expect innovation, advertisers demand measurable online engagement, and competitors introduce modern strategies that attract younger audiences. Even the most experienced editors admit that the industry has entered unfamiliar territory. Miranda carefully studies every report while searching for a solution that will preserve both the magazine's identity and its financial stability. She understands that one wrong decision could weaken everything she spent decades creating, making every conversation, every partnership, and every business move more important than ever before. As Andy and Emily catch up, they reflect on the unpredictable paths their careers have taken. Emily jokes about surviving Miranda's impossible standards, admitting that although those years were exhausting, they taught her lessons that no business school ever could. Andy agrees, remembering the sleepless nights, impossible deadlines, and relentless pressure that once seemed unbearable. They laugh about old memories, but beneath the humor lies an unspoken understanding that Miranda shaped both of their lives in ways they could never completely escape. Emily explains that she now represents one of the most influential luxury groups in the industry, a company preparing to launch a massive advertising campaign worth millions. The decision about where that investment will go has become one of the most closely watched business stories in fashion. Andy immediately recognizes the significance of Emily's role and realizes that the future of several publications may depend on negotiations happening behind closed doors during this very event. At the opposite side of the ballroom, Miranda Priestly makes her entrance with the same commanding presence that once silenced entire offices. Conversations pause as guests quietly watch her move through the crowd with perfect confidence and elegance. Although she appears as composed as ever, Miranda carefully studies everyone around her, observing changing alliances and identifying potential opportunities. She understands that appearances often hide deeper intentions, especially in the competitive fashion industry. Several executives approach her with compliments, but their conversations quickly shift toward business concerns, digital growth, and declining magazine circulation. Miranda listens without revealing her true thoughts, refusing to let anyone see the pressure she faces behind the scenes. She knows that every handshake tonight could determine whether Runway remains an industry leader or slowly fades into irrelevance. When Miranda unexpectedly notices Andy across the room, time seems to freeze for a brief moment. Neither of them expected this reunion, yet both immediately recognize the confidence that the other has gained over the years. Andy no longer appears nervous or uncertain, while Miranda continues to project absolute authority despite the industry's growing challenges. Their conversation begins politely, with Miranda acknowledging Andy's impressive journalism career and the respect she has earned outside the fashion world. Andy thanks her sincerely, admitting that although their time together was difficult, it forced her to discover strengths she never knew she possessed. For the first time, their exchange feels less like a conversation between a demanding boss and an overwhelmed assistant, and more like two accomplished professionals who understand the sacrifices required for success. Even so, subtle tension remains beneath every carefully chosen word, reminding both women that their shared history can never be completely forgotten. Later that evening, Emily joins Miranda for a private business discussion regarding the luxury group's upcoming advertising campaign. The atmosphere quickly becomes serious as both women realize how much is at stake. Emily presents detailed market research showing that younger consumers now spend far more time following influencers and digital creators than reading traditional fashion magazines. She respectfully explains that advertisers expect measurable online engagement, creative multimedia campaigns, and stronger digital partnerships before committing their budgets. Miranda listens carefully without interrupting, but it becomes clear that adapting to these expectations will require difficult decisions. Emily makes it equally clear that while she respects Runway's legacy, sentiment alone cannot justify a multi-million-dollar investment. Their negotiation ends without. Although Runway remains one of the most respected names in fashion journalism, subscription numbers continue to fall while advertising budgets shift toward digital campaigns led by influencers and content creators. Several board members recommend aggressive restructuring, including staff reductions and a complete redesign of the magazine's business model. Others suggest partnering with powerful luxury brands to secure long-term financial stability. Miranda listens carefully without revealing emotion, studying every chart and every statistic projected on the screen. She understands that the numbers cannot be ignored, but she also refuses to believe that quality journalism should be sacrificed for short-term trends. When the presentation ends, the room falls silent as everyone waits for her response. Miranda calmly closes the folder in front of her and states that Runway has survived countless industry changes before, and it will survive this one as well, but only if every decision is made with precision rather than panic. Across the city, Andy Sachs begins researching the story assigned to her the previous evening. She contacts financial analysts, publishing executives, and longtime industry insiders, hoping to separate facts from speculation. Every conversation reveals another piece of a much larger puzzle. Several sources confirm that an international media corporation has expressed interest in acquiring multiple fashion publications, including Runway. Others believe that a powerful luxury group could become the magazine's primary investor instead. Andy realizes that this is no ordinary business story. It has the potential to reshape the entire fashion media landscape. While reviewing old notes and previous interviews, she cannot help remembering the determination Miranda always displayed when facing impossible situations. Despite everything they experienced together, Andy respects Miranda's ability to fight for what she believes in. That respect motivates her to approach the investigation fairly, determined to report the truth instead of chasing sensational headlines. Meanwhile, Emily Charlton spends her day in a series of high-level meetings with executives from luxury fashion houses preparing for upcoming global campaigns. Her company controls advertising budgets worth millions, giving Emily enormous influence over which publications receive valuable partnerships. Although several clients recommend shifting all marketing resources toward digital platforms, Emily argues that respected magazines still provide prestige and credibility that social media alone cannot replace. However, she also insists that traditional publications must modernize if they expect advertisers to continue investing. During one private meeting, an executive unexpectedly asks whether Runway magazine deserves another chance. Emily pauses before answering. She knows the magazine's reputation better than almost anyone, yet she also understands the financial risks involved. Instead of giving a simple yes or no, she promises to evaluate Miranda's upcoming proposal before making any recommendation, leaving the executives intrigued by what could become one of the year's most important business decisions. Back at Runway, Miranda begins assembling a small team of trusted employees to develop a bold strategy capable of convincing investors and advertisers that the magazine still has a bright future. She rejects safe, predictable ideas and challenges her editors to think beyond the limits of traditional publishing. The team discusses interactive digital editions, exclusive behind-the-scenes documentaries, partnerships with emerging designers, and new ways of connecting readers with luxury brands. Some employees hesitate, believing such dramatic changes might damage the magazine's identity. Miranda quickly reminds them that refusing to evolve is a far greater threat than embracing innovation. Her words inspire renewed determination throughout the room, proving that despite the uncertainty surrounding the company, her leadership remains as powerful as ever. For the first time in weeks, optimism begins replacing fear inside the office. Late that evening, Andy receives an anonymous message asking her to meet a confidential source at a quiet restaurant away from the city's crowded fashion district. Curious and cautious, she arrives to find a senior executive from the publishing industry waiting alone. Without wasting time, the executive reveals that powerful investors are preparing to make an offer that could permanently change Runway magazine's future. Even more surprising, he hints that someone close to Miranda may already be negotiating behind the scenes without her knowledge. Before Andy can ask for details, the executive quietly stands, leaves a business card on the table, and walks away into the night. Andy stares at the card, realizing that her investigation has suddenly become far more dangerous than she ever imagined. As dark clouds gather above the city skyline, it becomes clear that hidden agendas, corporate rivalries, and unexpected betrayals are about to collide, placing every familiar face at the center of a battle that will determine the future of one of fashion's greatest institutions. The information Andy receives from the mysterious executive continues to occupy her thoughts long after she leaves the restaurant. She has spent years investigating complicated stories, but this situation feels different because it involves people who once played a major role in her life. She understands that journalism requires distance and honesty, yet she cannot ignore the personal connection she has with Runway magazine and the people fighting to protect it. The next morning, Andy returns to her office and begins organizing every piece of information she has collected. She compares financial reports, interviews industry experts, and studies the movements of major fashion companies. Slowly, a pattern begins to appear. The possible takeover of Runway is not just about money. It is part of a larger battle between traditional fashion institutions and a new generation of digital-first businesses. Andy realizes that whoever controls Runway's future will influence the direction of fashion media for years to come. At Runway headquarters, Miranda Priestly prepares for one of the most important presentations of her career. She knows that reputation alone will not convince modern investors. The world that once admired beautiful magazine covers and exclusive editorial content now demands instant access, online engagement, and measurable results. Miranda gathers her senior team and explains that the future of Runway depends on combining the magazine's legendary identity with modern innovation. She challenges her employees to create something that respects the past while embracing the future. The team begins developing a complete transformation plan that includes expanded digital platforms, exclusive fashion documentaries, interactive reader experiences, and stronger relationships with emerging designers. Some employees are nervous because change has always been difficult, especially for an organization built on tradition. However, Miranda's confidence slowly convinces them that survival requires courage. During the development of the new strategy, Miranda receives an unexpected visit from Emily Charlton. Their reunion is professional rather than emotional, but both women immediately understand the importance of the conversation. Emily explains that her company is still considering where to invest its advertising budget, but she needs proof that Runway can compete in the modern marketplace. Miranda responds by showing the detailed plans for the magazine's future. She explains that Runway's greatest strength has never been technology or trends. It has always been influence, credibility, and the ability to define what the world considers fashionable. Emily respects the argument, but she remains realistic. She tells Miranda that the industry has changed and that even legendary brands must prove their value. The conversation becomes a meeting between two powerful women who understand each other more than they want to admit. Meanwhile, Andy continues following the trail behind the possible acquisition. She discovers that several investors have been secretly communicating with executives from different media companies. Their goal is not simply to save struggling publications, but to create a massive fashion and lifestyle network that could dominate the industry. Andy learns that some people believe Miranda's leadership style belongs to the past and that a younger executive should take control of Runway's future. This information surprises her because she knows Miranda's methods were demanding, but she also understands the discipline and excellence that made Runway famous. Andy begins questioning whether progress always means replacing the people who built an institution or whether experience still has value in a rapidly changing world. As rumors continue spreading, tensions rise inside Runway's offices. Some employees worry about losing their jobs if a takeover happens, while others secretly hope that new leadership could bring opportunities for growth. The atmosphere becomes filled with uncertainty, and Miranda notices that fear is affecting the team's creativity. Instead of allowing panic to control the office, she gathers everyone together and delivers a powerful message. She reminds them that the fashion world has always survived because of people willing to take risks and create something different. She tells them that challenges do not destroy great organizations, refusing to adapt does. Her speech motivates the staff and reminds them why Runway became a symbol of excellence in the first place. Later, Andy meets with Emily to discuss the investigation. Their conversation is honest because both women know they are connected to the same situation from different sides. Emily reveals that she has heard rumors about someone inside the industry attempting to weaken Miranda's position. She does not know who is responsible, but she believes the competition is more aggressive than anyone realizes. Andy shares the information she discovered from her sources, and together they begin connecting details that suggest a larger plan. They realize that while everyone is focused on the financial problems facing Runway, someone may be using the chaos as an opportunity to gain control. That evening, Miranda stays alone in her office after everyone else has left. Looking through old issues of Runway magazine, she remembers the decades of work, creativity, and determination that built its reputation. For the first time, the possibility of losing control of the publication feels real. Yet, instead of accepting defeat, Miranda begins preparing her strongest move. She contacts influential designers, photographers, and business leaders who still believe in the power of Runway. Her plan is to prove that the magazine's value cannot be measured only through numbers and digital statistics. It represents history, creativity, and authority in an industry built on vision. At the same time, Andy receives another message from her confidential source. This time, the information is more shocking than before. The source claims that the person pushing for changes inside Runway is not an outside competitor, but someone connected to the magazine's own inner circle. Andy realizes that the battle for Runway's future is becoming more personal than she ever expected. With Miranda preparing a major comeback, Emily caught between business and loyalty, and Andy caught in the middle of a dangerous investigation. The future of fashion's most famous publication hangs in the balance. The decisions made in the coming days will reveal who truly understands the new world of fashion and who is still trapped in the old one. The pressure surrounding Runway magazine reaches a new level as rumors about internal conflict begin spreading throughout the fashion industry. Every major publication starts covering the possible changes, and competitors use the uncertainty as an opportunity to attract Runway's readers and advertisers. Despite the growing attention, Miranda Priestley refuses to let outside voices influence her decisions. She knows that the only way to protect the magazine is by proving its future potential rather than defending its past achievements. Inside her office, she studies market reports, analyzes reader behavior, and reviews every detail of the transformation plan. For Miranda, success has always depended on preparation and precision. She understands that one mistake could give her opponents the advantage they are waiting for. However, she also knows that this moment could become the greatest opportunity of her career if she manages to reinvent Runway without losing the identity that made it legendary. Meanwhile, Andy continues investigating the hidden forces attempting to influence Runway's future. Her research takes her deeper into the relationships between investors, luxury brands, and media executives. She discovers that a powerful group has been quietly purchasing shares in several fashion-related companies, creating a network of influence across the industry. Their goal appears to be controlling major fashion platforms and changing how luxury brands communicate with audiences. Andy realizes that Runway is not just another magazine in their plan. It is the final piece needed to complete their vision. The more she investigates, the more she understands why certain people want Miranda removed. They are not simply challenging her leadership, they are trying to replace an entire generation of fashion journalism with a completely different business model. At Runway, the creative team works day and night to prepare the presentation that will determine the magazine's future. Miranda demands perfection from everyone involved, but this time her expectations are connected to something larger than personal success. She wants her employees to understand that they are not just creating a business proposal. They are protecting a cultural institution. The team develops ideas that combine fashion, technology, and storytelling in ways Runway has never attempted before. They plan exclusive digital experiences, live designer interviews, interactive fashion collections, and partnerships with young creative talents. Slowly, the employees begin realizing that Miranda's vision is not about preserving the old world. It is about creating a new one where Runway remains powerful. Emily faces her own difficult decisions as executives from her company continue demanding clear answers about the advertising investment. They admire Runway's history but question whether the magazine can truly compete against modern digital platforms. Emily studies the numbers carefully and visits Runway personally to observe the changes taking place. As she walks through the office, she notices something different. The same intensity and discipline that once existed under Miranda are still present, but now they are combined with fresh ideas and modern creativity. Emily begins to believe that Runway may actually have a chance to succeed. However, she knows supporting Miranda could create problems for her own career because business decisions are rarely based only on loyalty. During a private conversation, Emily finally admits to Miranda that she respects the effort being made to transform Runway. She explains that many people underestimate the importance of experience because they believe everything new is automatically better. Miranda listens carefully, but she does not allow herself to become sentimental. She tells Emily that the fashion world has always rewarded those who recognize change before everyone else. Their conversation reveals how much both women have evolved. Emily is no longer the assistant desperately seeking approval, and Miranda is no longer only the intimidating editor who demands perfection. They are now two experienced professionals facing a common challenge from different positions. Elsewhere, Andy discovers new evidence that changes the direction of her investigation. She learns that one of the executives involved in the potential takeover has a personal connection to someone inside Runway. This discovery makes her question whether the information she has received is completely trustworthy. As a journalist, Andy knows she cannot publish accusations without proof, but she also feels responsible for protecting people who may be targeted unfairly. She decides to arrange another meeting with her confidential source to get clearer answers. Before leaving, she reviews all her notes and realizes that every important person in this situation has something to lose. The highly anticipated Runway presentation finally arrives, and the atmosphere inside the conference room is filled with tension. Investors, luxury brand representatives, and industry leaders gather to hear Miranda's vision for the future. Everyone expects a traditional explanation about protecting the magazine's legacy, but Miranda surprises them. Instead of focusing on what Runway has already achieved, she presents a bold plan for what it can become. She explains that fashion has never survived by standing still. Every generation changes the industry, and Runway's responsibility is to guide that change rather than fear it. Her words capture the attention of everyone in the room, including those who arrived expecting to reject the proposal. However, just as the presentation appears to be turning in Miranda's favor, unexpected news interrupts the meeting. a major competitor announces a new partnership that could directly challenge Runway's position in the market. The announcement creates uncertainty among investors and raises new questions about whether Miranda's strategy is strong enough to compete. Emily immediately begins analyzing the situation, while Andy receives another urgent message suggesting that the announcement may not be a coincidence. Someone appears determined to create obstacles at every step, and the timing of each move suggests a carefully planned operation. As the day ends, Miranda stands in her office looking over the city lights, knowing the battle is far from finished. The presentation proved that Runway still has influence, but influence alone may not be enough. The future will depend on alliances, strategy, and the ability to expose the people working against them. Andy, Emily, and Miranda are now connected by a situation none of them expected, and the next moves they make will decide whether Runway rises again or becomes a memory of fashion history. The days following Miranda Priestley's presentation become some of the most unpredictable days in Runway magazine's history. The fashion world begins discussing her new vision, but opinions remain divided. Some critics believe Miranda is attempting to save an outdated business model, while others recognize that she may be one of the few people capable of successfully rebuilding such an influential brand. Newspapers, online platforms, and fashion commentators continue debating whether traditional media can survive in a world where trends change every second. Inside Runway, employees work harder than ever, knowing that their efforts could determine the future of the magazine. The pressure is intense, but there is also a renewed sense of purpose. For the first time in years, many employees feel that they are not simply maintaining a famous publication, they are helping create something completely new. Miranda continues preparing for the next stage of her plan. She begins contacting some of the most respected figures in the fashion industry, including designers, photographers, and creative directors who helped establish Runway's reputation. Many of them are surprised by her willingness to embrace new ideas because they remember her as someone who valued tradition and perfection above everything else. However, Miranda explains that protecting tradition does not mean refusing change. She believes that the strongest institutions are not the ones that remain frozen in time, but the ones that understand how to evolve while keeping their core identity alive. Her conversations slowly begin changing opinions among influential people who once doubted whether Runway could compete in the modern era. Meanwhile, Andy continues searching for the truth behind the possible takeover. She spends hours reviewing documents, following financial connections, and speaking with people who have knowledge of the publishing industry. Her investigation reveals that the situation is even more complicated than she first imagined. Several executives are competing for control, and some are willing to manipulate information to gain an advantage. Andy realizes that the person who contacted her may have been using her investigation for their own purposes. This discovery forces her to become even more careful because she knows that publishing the wrong information could damage innocent people and destroy her own reputation as a journalist. During her investigation, Andy meets with Miranda privately to discuss what she has discovered. The conversation is uncomfortable because both women know their relationship has always been complicated. Andy admits that she does not want to protect Miranda simply because of their history. She wants to uncover the truth. Miranda respects her honesty and appreciates that Andy has grown into someone who can challenge powerful people without fear. She tells Andy that the fashion industry has always been filled with ambition, competition, and hidden motives. However, she warns her that people who expose uncomfortable truths often become targets themselves. Andy understands the risk, but she remains determined to finish the story properly. At the same time, Emily faces increasing pressure from her company's executives. They want a final decision about whether to invest in Runway's future. Some members of the board believe the safest choice is to support younger digital platforms instead of a traditional magazine. Emily argues that Runway's influence still has tremendous value, but she struggles to convince everyone. She begins creating a detailed report comparing the long-term benefits of investing in established fashion authority versus chasing temporary online popularity. Her research shows that while digital trends can disappear quickly, strong brands with loyal audiences often survive major changes. Emily realizes that her decision will not only affect Runway but could also define her own reputation as a business leader. A major fashion event soon arrives, becoming the perfect opportunity for Runway to demonstrate its transformation. Miranda decides that the magazine must present something completely different from previous years. Instead of focusing only on luxury and exclusivity, Runway highlights young designers, innovative technology, and new creative voices entering the industry. The event attracts massive attention because many people are curious to see whether Miranda's new direction can actually work. Andy attends as a journalist, observing everything carefully. She notices that the atmosphere around Runway has changed. The magazine still carries its famous elegance, but now it feels more open and connected to a younger generation. During the event, Emily introduces Miranda to several important investors who were previously uncertain about Runway's future. Their conversations go better than expected, and for a brief moment it appears that the magazine may have secured the support it needs. However, behind the scenes, another challenge begins developing. Andy discovers that confidential information about Runway's strategy has somehow leaked to competitors. The leaked details could damage upcoming partnerships and give rivals an advantage. Everyone immediately begins questioning how the information escaped and who might be responsible. Suspicion spreads quickly throughout the organization. Employees begin looking at each other differently, and trust becomes difficult to maintain. Miranda knows that internal conflict could destroy everything they have built, so she demands a complete investigation. She refuses to allow fear and accusations to control the office. Andy also begins investigating the leak because she believes it may be connected to the larger plan against Runway. As she searches for answers, she discovers small details that suggest the betrayal may come from someone much closer than anyone expected. Late one evening, Andy uncovers a surprising connection between the leaked information and the investors involved in the takeover discussions. She realizes that someone has been carefully manipulating events from the beginning, creating problems whenever Runway gains momentum. The discovery changes everything because it proves that the fight for Runway's future is not just about business strategy, it is about trust, loyalty, and power. As Miranda prepares her next move, Emily decides where her loyalty truly stands, and Andy gets closer to exposing the person behind the operation. The future of Runway enters its most dangerous stage yet. The discovery of the leaked information creates a storm inside Runway magazine. What was supposed to be a period of rebuilding and excitement suddenly becomes a moment filled with doubt and suspicion. Employees who were once united by the goal of protecting the magazine begin questioning each other's loyalty. Miranda Priestley understands that a company cannot succeed when its own people are divided, so she immediately takes control of the situation. Instead of allowing rumors to spread, she orders a careful internal review to discover how confidential plans were exposed. She knows that whoever leaked the information did not simply reveal business details, they attempted to damage the trust that holds the entire organization together. For Miranda, this is no longer only a battle against outside competitors. It has become a personal challenge to identify the person willing to harm the legacy she built. Andy continues following the evidence she collected during her investigation. She reviews conversations, financial records, and timelines to understand exactly when the leak occurred. Slowly, she begins noticing a pattern. Every time Runway makes progress, a new obstacle appears almost immediately afterward. A partnership announcement is challenged, confidential plans become public, and negative stories suddenly appear in the media. Andy realizes that these events are too perfectly timed to be random. Someone has been carefully watching Runway's movements and using insider knowledge to weaken the magazine. The more she investigates, the more she understands that the person behind the plan must have access to information from inside the organization. Emily also becomes deeply involved in finding the source of the problem. She uses her professional connections to gather information from the business side of the fashion industry. Several executives quietly admit that they have heard rumors about a planned leadership change at Runway. They reveal that certain investors believe Miranda's era is coming to an end and that a younger, more technology-focused leader should take control. Emily finds this disturbing because she understands the difference between improving an organization and destroying the people who created it. She begins questioning whether some individuals are truly interested in modernizing fashion media or simply looking for an opportunity to gain power. As the investigation continues, Miranda calls a private meeting with her closest team members. She tells them that difficult moments reveal the true character of people. She does not want excuses, panic, or unnecessary accusations. She wants facts. Her calm but powerful leadership reminds everyone why she has remained one of the most respected figures in fashion for so many years. Even those who once feared her begin recognizing that her strength comes from her ability to stay focused when others lose control. Miranda assigns responsibilities, creates a new security system for sensitive information, and prepares the team for the challenges ahead. Meanwhile, Andy discovers a connection between the leaked information and a former executive who once worked closely with Runway. The discovery surprises her because the individual had always appeared loyal and professional. However, Andy knows that appearances can be misleading, especially in an industry where reputation and ambition often exist side by side. She begins researching this person's history and discovers a series of unexplained career moves and secret meetings with investors connected to the takeover plan. Although she still does not have enough proof to make a public accusation, she realizes she may finally be close to uncovering the truth. During another meeting between Andy and Miranda, the two discuss the possibility that someone from inside Runway may be responsible. Miranda is not surprised by the idea. She explains that the greatest threats often come from people who understand a company's weaknesses better than outsiders. Andy asks Miranda if she suspects anyone, but Miranda refuses to name individuals without evidence. She believes emotions can lead to mistakes, and she has built her career by making decisions based on facts rather than assumptions. Their conversation shows how much their relationship has changed. Years ago, Andy would have avoided challenging Miranda, but now she can speak openly with her as an equal. At the same time, Emily makes a major decision regarding the advertising investment. After carefully reviewing everything, she tells her company's executives that she believes Runway still has a future. She explains that the magazine's greatest advantage is not just its history but its ability to influence culture. She argues that supporting Runway is not a risk, it is an investment in a brand that has the power to shape consumer behavior. Her decision creates disagreement among some executives, but Emily stands firmly behind her judgment. For the first time, she is not trying to prove herself to Miranda or anyone else. She is making a decision based on her own experience and confidence. The situation reaches a turning point when Andy receives evidence that appears to confirm the identity of the person responsible for the leak. However, before she can reveal the information, she discovers that the same person has already begun making another move against Runway. A damaging story is prepared for release, one that could destroy the magazine's reputation and convince investors to withdraw their support. Andy realizes that waiting could allow the situation to become impossible to fix. She must decide whether to publish her findings immediately or continue gathering more evidence to ensure the truth cannot be challenged. As the pressure reaches its highest point, Miranda prepares for what could be the most important public appearance of her career. She plans to address the future of Runway directly in front of the fashion industry's most powerful figures. She knows that words alone will not be enough. She must prove that the magazine still represents creativity, excellence, and innovation. Andy, Emily, and Miranda now find themselves fighting the same battle from different positions. One is searching for the truth, one is protecting the business future, and one is defending a legacy built over decades. With the final confrontation approaching, every secret, every alliance, and every hidden motive begins moving toward exposure. The person trying to control Runway from the shadows is preparing their final strategy, but Andy is closer than ever to revealing the truth. The future of the magazine depends on whether they can uncover the betrayal before it destroys everything they have worked to save. The day of Miranda Priestley's major announcement arrives, and the entire fashion industry turns its attention toward Runway magazine. For weeks, critics have questioned whether the legendary publication can survive the changes happening around it. Some believe the magazine represents an outdated era, while others believe its reputation and influence are exactly what the modern fashion world needs. As cameras gather outside the event location, journalists prepare for every possible outcome. Investors, designers, and media executives arrive with expectations, knowing that Miranda's words could determine the direction of one of fashion's most recognized brands. Inside the venue, the atmosphere is filled with anticipation. Employees from Runway stand proudly, but they also understand that one mistake could change everything. Miranda enters the event with complete confidence, showing no sign of the pressure surrounding her. She has faced difficult moments before, but this challenge carries a different weight. This is not only about business numbers or magazine sales, it is about proving that experience and innovation can exist together. As she walks onto the stage, the audience becomes silent. Miranda begins by acknowledging the incredible history of Runway magazine and the people who helped create its reputation. She explains that fashion has never been about standing still. Every generation introduces new ideas, new voices, and new ways of seeing the world. She makes it clear that Runway is not trying to return to the past, it is preparing to lead the future. Her speech surprises many people because instead of defending traditional publishing, she openly accepts the changes happening in the industry. Miranda explains that technology is not the enemy of fashion journalism. Instead, it is a powerful tool that can help stories reach more people than ever before. She introduces Runway's new vision, including digital expansion, creative partnerships, and opportunities for young designers who previously struggled to gain recognition. Her message connects with many people because she proves that a legendary brand can evolve without losing its identity. The audience responds positively, and several investors begin reconsidering their previous doubts. While Miranda's presentation creates excitement, Andy continues working behind the scenes to expose the person responsible for the sabotage. She receives new information that confirms the leaked details were not an accident. Someone intentionally provided confidential plans to competitors in order to create instability. Andy carefully compares the evidence she collected and realizes that the person behind the operation has been planning the move for a long time. However, she also discovers that the situation may be more complicated than she first believed. The person responsible did not act alone. There are others involved who benefit from Runway's failure, making the investigation even more dangerous. Emily watches Miranda's presentation from the audience and feels a mixture of emotions. She remembers the difficult years working under Miranda when every mistake felt like a disaster and every task seemed impossible. Yet she also recognizes that those experiences shaped her into the professional she is today. Seeing Miranda embrace change gives Emily a new level of respect for her former boss. She realizes that true leadership is not about controlling everything, it is about knowing when to adapt. Emily decides that she will continue supporting Runway, even if the decision creates conflict with some of the executives at her company. After the event, investors begin approaching Miranda with renewed interest. Several who previously doubted Runway now see potential in the new direction. However, not everyone is impressed. The group attempting to gain control of the fashion media industry begins preparing another strategy. They realize that attacking Runway publicly is no longer enough because Miranda has successfully changed the conversation. Instead, they decide to target the relationships behind the magazine's success. Their plan focuses on creating distrust between Miranda, Emily, and Andy. Soon after, a misleading story appears online suggesting that Andy's investigation was influenced by her personal connection to Miranda. The article questions whether Andy can remain objective while covering a story involving someone from her past. The accusation spreads quickly, forcing Andy to defend her professional reputation. She feels frustrated because she has worked hard to become respected as an independent journalist. However, instead of reacting emotionally, she decides to prove the truth through stronger evidence. She understands that the people behind the attack want her to lose focus, and she refuses to give them that advantage. Miranda learns about the accusations against Andy and offers her support, but Andy tells her that she must handle the situation herself. This moment shows how much Andy has changed since her first days at Runway. She is no longer the uncertain assistant looking for approval. She has become someone capable of standing independently and making difficult choices. Miranda respects her decision because she recognizes the same determination that she values in successful people. Their relationship has transformed from conflict and control into mutual respect. As Andy continues investigating, she discovers the final piece of evidence connecting the sabotage to a powerful executive who has been working behind the scenes. The executive believed that removing Miranda and weakening Runway would allow a new media empire to take control. Andy realizes that the entire plan was based on the assumption that Miranda would refuse to change, but they underestimated her ability to adapt. The discovery gives Andy enough information to expose the truth, but she must decide the right moment to reveal everything. Meanwhile, Emily prepares the final agreement that could secure Runway's financial future. She negotiates carefully, ensuring that the magazine receives support without losing its creative independence. The deal becomes a symbol of how far everyone has come. Miranda has accepted change, Emily has become a powerful decision maker, and Andy has become a journalist willing to challenge powerful figures. However, before the agreement can be finalized, a final unexpected problem appears that threatens to undo all their progress. With the truth finally close to being revealed, the people behind the plan make one last attempt to protect themselves. Miranda, Andy, and Emily realize that the final battle will not only determine Runway's future, but also reveal who truly understands the changing world of fashion. The competition between old traditions and new ideas reaches its most intense moment, and the decisions made next will decide whether Runway continues its legacy or becomes another forgotten name in fashion history. The final stage of the battle for Runway magazine begins as the truth behind the hidden operations slowly comes into the light. After weeks of investigation, pressure, and uncertainty, Andy Sachs finally prepares to reveal the evidence she has collected. She knows that exposing powerful people is never simple, especially when those people have enough influence to damage careers and reputations. However, Andy also understands that journalism exists to uncover facts, not protect those who misuse their power. She carefully organizes every document, conversation, and piece of evidence before making her next move. Her goal is not revenge or personal victory. She wants the fashion industry to understand what really happened behind the scenes. At Runway headquarters, Miranda Priestley prepares for another important meeting with investors and partners. The atmosphere has changed dramatically since the crisis began. What once felt like an organization struggling to survive now feels like a company preparing for a new beginning. Employees are more confident, creative teams are excited about upcoming projects, and the magazine's new direction is gaining attention worldwide. Miranda notices the difference but remains focused. She knows success can disappear quickly if people become too comfortable. Her leadership style has always been built around preparation, and she refuses to underestimate anyone who stands against her. Emily Charlton also finds herself facing a major decision. Her company expects her to finalize the investment agreement with Runway, but some executives still question whether supporting Miranda is the right choice. They argue that the fashion industry is moving toward younger brands and digital platforms, while Runway represents an older generation. Emily disagrees because she understands something many others do not. Trends may change, but influence remains powerful. She believes Runway's ability to shape fashion conversations is exactly why it deserves support. Emily confidently presents her final recommendation and proves that she is no longer the ambitious assistant trying to impress others. She has become a respected business leader capable of making difficult decisions. Meanwhile, Andy meets with her editor and presents the complete investigation. She explains the entire plan behind the attempted takeover, including how certain individuals manipulated information to weaken Runway's position. Her editor carefully reviews the evidence and recognizes the importance of the story. However, they also understand the risks involved. Publishing such a report could create serious consequences because some of the people involved hold significant influence in the media world. Andy accepts the responsibility because she believes protecting the truth is more important than avoiding conflict. She prepares the article that could finally expose the people who tried to control Runway from the shadows. When the article is released, the reaction across the industry is immediate. Fashion experts, business leaders, and media organizations begin analyzing the information. The investigation reveals how certain executives attempted to create instability in order to gain control of a powerful fashion platform. Many people are shocked because the plan appeared carefully organized and remained hidden for a long time. The exposure changes the conversation completely. Instead of questioning whether Miranda can lead Runway into the future, people begin questioning the motives of those who tried to remove her. The executive behind the operation faces growing criticism as partners and investors distance themselves. The carefully designed plan begins collapsing because it depended on secrecy and manipulation. Without control over the narrative, the executive loses the advantage they once had. Miranda watches the situation unfold but does not celebrate. She understands that the fashion industry is constantly changing, and today's victory does not guarantee tomorrow's success. Her focus remains on protecting Runway and ensuring that the magazine continues moving forward. Andy and Miranda have another meaningful conversation after the events become public. They reflect on how much has changed since the first time they met. Andy remembers arriving at Runway as someone who knew very little about the fashion world and struggled to understand Miranda's demanding personality. Miranda acknowledges that Andy's determination and independence were always clear, even when she was still discovering herself. Their relationship has evolved from conflict into respect because both women recognize the lessons they learned from each other. Andy understands the importance of excellence, while Miranda recognizes the value of having people around her who can challenge her perspective. Emily also shares a final conversation with Andy, and they laugh about their early days working together. They realize that the difficult experiences they faced at Runway helped shape their careers. What once felt like an impossible environment became the foundation for their success. Emily admits that although she spent years trying to escape the pressure of working for Miranda, she now appreciates the discipline and ambition she gained from that experience. Both women understand that personal growth often comes from the most challenging moments. As Runway officially begins its transformation, the magazine launches its first major project under the new strategy. The response from readers and the fashion community is stronger than expected. Young designers receive more attention, digital audiences increase, and advertisers recognize the value of combining tradition with innovation. Miranda's decision to adapt proves successful because she understands that progress does not require abandoning everything from the past. Instead, the strongest future is created by combining experience with new ideas. However, Miranda knows another challenge will eventually arrive. The fashion industry never stops changing, and every success creates new competition. She looks toward the future with the same determination that built her reputation. Andy continues her journalism career with a deeper understanding of power and ambition. Emily continues leading major business decisions with confidence and independence. Their journeys, once connected by a demanding workplace, have now become examples of growth and transformation. As the story moves toward its conclusion, Runway magazine stands stronger than ever. The attempt to control its future failed because the people protecting it understood something important. The true strength of an institution comes from its ability to evolve. The battle revealed hidden ambitions, tested friendships, and forced everyone to confront difficult truths. But through all the challenges, Miranda, Andy, and Emily proved that change does not always destroy a legacy. Sometimes it is the very thing that allows a legacy to survive. The future of Runway magazine finally begins to look brighter after the intense battle that tested everyone involved. The magazine that once seemed close to losing its influence has now entered a new era, combining its legendary reputation with modern creativity and technology. The transformation is not just about increasing profits or attracting advertisers. It is about proving that a powerful brand can survive when it understands the importance of change. Inside the Runway offices, the atmosphere feels different. Employees who once worried about the future now feel inspired by the possibilities ahead. New projects are being developed, fresh creative voices are being introduced, and the magazine is becoming a place where tradition and innovation exist together. Miranda Priestley watches these changes carefully from her office. After everything she has experienced, she understands that leadership is not about controlling every detail forever. True leadership means preparing others to continue the mission even when circumstances change. For years, Miranda built Runway through discipline, high standards, and an unmatched understanding of fashion culture. However, this experience taught her that even the strongest leaders must be willing to evolve. She still maintains her legendary attention to detail and demanding personality, but now there is a deeper understanding behind her decisions. She is no longer simply protecting what Runway was, she is protecting what Runway can become. Andy Sachs continues building her career as a respected journalist. The investigation into Runway's future becomes one of the most important stories she has ever covered, but the experience changes her perspective on success. She realizes that power and influence are not always about being the loudest person in the room. Sometimes true impact comes from asking difficult questions and having the courage to search for the truth. Andy has come a long way from the young woman who entered the fashion world without understanding its rules. The challenges she faced taught her confidence, determination, and the ability to stand independently. She now understands that every experience, even the most difficult ones, can shape a person's future. Emily Charlton also reaches a new stage in her professional journey. The woman who once dreamed of impressing Miranda has become someone who creates her own opportunities. She no longer defines success by another person's approval. Instead, she measures it through her own achievements and decisions. Her role in protecting Runway proves that she has developed into a powerful leader who understands both business and creativity. Emily continues working with major fashion brands, but she carries the lessons from her years at Runway with her. The pressure, the impossible expectations, and the constant competition helped transform her into the professional she is today. The relationship between Miranda, Andy, and Emily becomes one of the most unexpected stories in the fashion world. Years earlier, they were connected by a difficult workplace where emotions often clashed with ambition. But time changed their perspectives. They learned that people can influence each other even when their relationships begin with conflict. Miranda taught Andy and Emily the importance of excellence, while Andy and Emily reminded Miranda that new generations bring valuable ideas. Their journey proves that growth often comes from situations that challenge people the most. As Runway launches its new digital platforms and creative projects, the magazine attracts attention from a younger audience. Readers who once viewed fashion publications as outdated begin discovering a new side of Runway. Behind the scenes content, emerging designers, and interactive experiences bring the magazine closer to people around the world. The success shows that fashion is not only about expensive clothing or famous names, it is about creativity, storytelling, and the ability to inspire people. Miranda's vision becomes reality because she understood that the future required both respect for history and acceptance of change. Meanwhile, the people who attempted to control Runway's future disappear from the spotlight. Their plan failed because they underestimated the strength of the people defending the magazine. They believed success depended only on financial power, but they ignored the importance of reputation, creativity, and trust. The experience becomes a reminder that businesses built on genuine influence cannot easily be destroyed by temporary strategies. Runway survives because the people behind it understand its true value. In the final moments of this journey, each character moves forward with a clearer understanding of who they are. Andy continues telling important stories, using her voice to uncover truths and challenge powerful figures. Emily continues growing as a leader, creating her own path in the competitive fashion world. Miranda remains one of the most influential names in the industry, but she now looks toward the future with a willingness to embrace possibilities she once might have ignored. The story of Runway magazine becomes more than a story about fashion. It becomes a story about change, ambition, relationships, and personal growth. It shows that success is not achieved by refusing to change, but by knowing what should be protected and what should be transformed. The fashion world will continue evolving, new competitors will appear, and new challenges will arrive. But Runway has proven that a true legacy can survive any era. The journey that began with pressure, uncertainty, and conflict ends with renewal and confidence. Miranda, Andy, and Emily each walk away with something valuable from their experiences. They discover that success is not only about reaching the top, it is about adapting, learning, and continuing forward when the world changes around you. Runway Magazine's future is no longer defined by its past. It is defined by the people